So here at Minidisc, we've had a few weeks with the HD560S, Sennheiser's new open-backed headphone targeted at critical listening, an entry-level headphone for aspiring audiophiles, if you will. The HD560S comes in at an affordable new price point below the popular HD600 series and alongside the HD599. Now, there's definitely been a bit of hype surrounding this release, and there's a lot to talk about when comparing this headphone with the rest of the range from Sennheiser, as well as alternatives like the 2020 HiFiMan HE400i and the Beyerdynamic Tiger. So let's get into it. First of all, the design of the HD560S isn't anything we haven't seen before from Sennheiser, but here's the quick rundown. The 560S is a tried and tested full-sized headphone design with long elliptical ear cups similar in shape and design to the closed HD569. Now, we've found that customers with longer ears tend to love the comfort of this design, but like with other Sennheiser full-size headphones, clamping pressure is higher than average out of the box. The HD560S comes with a detachable cable, but unlike the higher-end HD600 series, the cable is single-sided. It does terminate in 1/4 inch, which speaks to its use as a home use headphone that might be used with a dedicated amplifier, but Sennheiser also includes a 1/4 inch to 3.5mm adapter in the box. Since the HD560S is a 120 ohm headphone with average sensitivity, a beefy amplifier isn't a must-have for this headphone unless you listen at very loud volumes, which we don't recommend, or you listen to a lot of older recordings or classical recordings, which tend to be recorded at lower levels. On the other hand, while you don't need a very powerful amplifier, we also probably wouldn't recommend using the HD560S with just a little phone dongle. For reference, we found this headphone to be just a little bit easier to drive in general than low impedance, low sensitivity designs like the 32 ohm Beyerdynamic Tiger. Now, in terms of sound, Sennheiser bills the HD560S as a critical listening headphone, and when you listen to it, it's sort of obvious why that is. The 560S is a brighter, dry-sounding headphone that has a lot of extra detail in the upper mid-range, so that the texture of things like electric guitars and brass instruments gets emphasized. Sometimes this emphasis can take on an abrasive quality. It isn't sharp, sibilant treble, but it can sound a bit raw and edgy. Now, I know a lot of people will like this presentation since it is similar to the treble of the popular HD660S, but I'm personally not a huge fan of this edginess because on the 560S it's even more prominent. That's because compared to most other Sennheisers, mid-bass on the HD560S is on the leaner side, which makes the somewhat brittle high end stand out. Now, don't get me wrong, deep bass on this headphone is well defined and punchy, and in addition, soundstage and imaging is noticeably more open and defined than many alternatives at this price point, so you can definitely see why the HD560S is being positioned as an entry-level reference headphone. The Sennheiser HD599 is a similar price to the HD560S, but the 599 opts for a richer tone with more filled-in mid-bass, making vocals in particular sound richer. To me, the HD599 sounds lusher and smoother and more pleasant, without the same edginess and sound that the HD560S has. But bass is definitely less tight, the soundstage is less wide, and imaging is definitely not as defined. Next up is the Beyerdynamic Tiger, which I think represents some strong competition for the HD560S. Coming in at a slightly higher price, the Tiger produces a much deeper bass tone with more mid-bass, and it shifts the treble peak up higher so that it doesn't sound quite as grainy as the HD560S. Now, I think the Tiger is also as resolving as the HD560S, but one drawback is that the soundstage is noticeably smaller and more intimate on the Beyer compared to the Sennheiser. The new 2020 version of the HiFiMan HE400i is another strong competitor at this price point, with a cleaner sound than the Tiger and more bass slam and speed than the HD560S thanks to its planar magnetic driver. The HE400i is probably one of the most resolving headphones at this price point that still has a nice fun tone in the bass and sparkly treble. The trade-off is that the low impedance, low sensitivity planar magnetic driver on the HE400i will require more current than some weaker amplifiers can deliver. Now, when you jump up to the HD600 and the HD660S from Sennheiser, you can see what makes these headphones twice the price of the HD560S. The HD600 series combines the best aspects of the HD599 and HD560S, with the denser, richer, and more natural midtone of the HD599 coupled with the raw detail and definition of the HD560S. In particular, the HD660S is pretty much a direct upgrade over the 560S, with a similar, slightly raw and detailed sound, but with bass that is also more dense and impactful, so the sound overall feels more resolving on the HD660S from top to bottom. So in conclusion, the HD560S is a good headphone at a good price point, and we think it will introduce a lot of people to the Sennheiser sound. But there is some strong competition at this price, and personally speaking, I prefer a warmer tonal balance. But there's definitely going to be an appreciative audience for the great detail and soundstage that is on offer here from Sennheiser at this price. So drop into our store and have a listen and let us know what you think. This is Lachlan for Minidisc TV, and we'll see you next time.